Hi again, Rob with SDC International Shipping. We're talking about Mexico, and this is the fourth and final segment. And I want to talk a little bit about, sort of round this out with some miscellaneous information about, moving to Mexico and what to expect, and some of the common questions that I get about that. The first piece is banking. People ask me, they say, hey, Rob, can I open a bank account in Mexico? Well, of course you can, provided that you're eligible to open a bank account. You're going to need one, right? So generally speaking, it's just as simple as providing the proper identification and proving your residency status, and that typically will be a utility bill or something of that nature. But it's pretty straightforward to open a bank account in Mexico. Like I said, you're going to need it, and it shouldn't be too much of a problem. The second thing that I often get questions about are taxes. People ask if they're going to be responsible for U.S. taxes if they're in Mexico, if they're residing in Mexico temporarily or permanently. And I say, well, first, I am not a tax accountant. So I'm a mover. I'm an international, I relocate people internationally. But I will say that generally speaking, it is my understanding that if you are a citizen of the United States of America, still a citizen, residing anywhere, whether it be Mexico or any other country, Uncle Sam is going to expect that you file a tax return and potentially pay any taxes that might be due. It's more complex than that because there are certain credits and all different things, and where did the income come from, and how much time did you spend in one location versus the other. But again, that's way outside of my wheelhouse, and that is a proper question for your tax accountant. Certainly want to understand all of those ins and outs so that you don't have any problems. The next one, this is super important. What about healthcare in Mexico? Well, Mexico does have a national health plan. It is the Instituto Mexicana de Seguro Social, IMSS, and it again is their national health plan. As a temporary or permanent resident, you are eligible to apply and enroll potentially into that system. I won't go into the details here because that would be way too much, and probably not, this isn't the appropriate place for all that information, but it's all online, and certainly your relocation specialist here at SDC can help you with some of those items, and give you advice and point you in the right direction to get started with that. But they do have a national health plan in Mexico, and you are eligible to apply and potentially enroll in that. Another question I get very often as it relates to health care in Mexico is, I'm a U.S. citizen, I have Medicare, I'm a Medicare beneficiary, and will that cover me in Mexico? And the answer to that is no. If you're a U.S. citizen, Medicare covers you in the United States of America, and that's it. They aren't going to cover your health care costs in a different country as an expat. So you can look into that a little bit, but that's the general answer as I understand it anyway. The other question I get sometimes, hey, Rob, can I own a house? I heard you can't own a home in Mexico if you're an American citizen. I said, well, that's not true. Americans can own land and a home in Mexico. They can't own it directly in a restricted zone. What is a restricted zone? Well, a restricted zone is 50 kilometers from any coastline, from the ocean or the Gulf, and 100 kilometers from any border. So that's it. That's in Article 27 of the Mexican Constitution. But anywhere outside that, Americans can directly own land, a home, no problem. Now, even in a restricted zone, within 50 miles of the coastline or 100 miles of a border, so Americans can still own land, just not directly. It has to be done by proxy. So you have to contact an attorney about that. It's actually a fairly simple process. It's generally done by creating a corporation that owns the property, and then bring in some people, and so you don't directly own it. The corporation does. It's a Mexican corporation. But I won't go into details. I'm not a real estate attorney, so I won't go too much further. But I do know people personally, a number of people who own by proxy a home in Mexico in a restricted zone for sure. One of the coastal cities. So I hope that's been helpful. I just wanted to throw those out there. I think they're important at the end here. Hope this whole segment has been very helpful, and if we can help you in any other way for your move to Mexico, your shipping to Mexico, please reach out and speak with one of our experienced relocation specialists on that subject. Take care. Thank you.